Hello. Hello. Okay. We've been talking a lot about procrastination, and we had the most amazing workshop over the last 3 days about this exact topic. Now, the one thing that came up loud and clear, and we're actually talking about this in study club this morning within the 2% club, and we were talking about what does this all have to do with self-sabotage? Is when I sabotage myself linked with procrastination? And the answer is yes. Like the link between them is very, very close. Okay. And it's both psychological. Okay. Both have and relate with a fear of failure and perfectionism. And we've talked a lot about that, right? Both procrastination and self-sabotage are driven by fear of failure. Like I don't want to take any action because I don't want to take like the wrong action, right? People who procrastinate might delay tasks because they fear they're not going to do them right or to a certain standard or a certain expectation. And self-sabotage, this is intentionally undermining our own efforts to avoid the possibility of failure and criticism. Right? Both don't want to go out of the comfort zone. And there's like this avoidance of it. Right? They're both rooted in the desire to avoid discomfort. If I just don't take any action, then I'm not going to get uncomfortable. If I sabotage this whole experience, then I don't have to worry about getting uncomfortable. Right? Like we would rather engage in behaviors that are not serving us than get uncomfortable. Like the scroll hole. Super comfortable in there. And even with algorithms, the Facebook and Instagram and TikTok machines, they make it comfortable because it's like, oh damn, yeah, I love following this person. I love watching I'd rather watch them do their thing than me go do my thing. I'll totally avoid me doing my thing because it's uncomfortable when I do it, but they make it look really easy and I like easy. So let's just do that. Right? And then that is self-sabotaging the whole experience. Both are very closely linked to low self-esteem and low self-worth. Okay, they are both influenced by this underlying related piece here, right? People who struggle with low self-esteem are more likely to procrastinate as they avoid confronting their perceived inadequacies, whatever you want to call them, right? And then with self-sabotage, this may involve in actually engaging in behaviors that reinforce the negative belief. That's not true, by the way. But this is where we talked a lot about in the workshop, like understanding your self-worth, creating that self-image of someone that fill in the blank. Because the moment you do that, then the self-sabotaging kind of takes care of itself. Maybe you're doing this because you have a fear of success. Right? This too can contribute to both procrastination and self-sabotage. There may be this fear of potential consequences of like what's going to happen if I actually achieve my goals. I might have more responsibility. I might have higher expectations. I'm scared that I don't know what's going to come of it. Am I willing to be that person? And then both have this continuous negative self-talk that's going on. Again, we have two self-images. We have the one that we project to the world. We have the one that we hold of ourselves. And procrastination and self-sabotage are fueled by this voice that we have on the inside. So you can project whatever you want out here, But the one that's actually getting you your results, the one that's actually doing the procrastinating or the avoidance of whatever it is the one inside every single time. So then the next question becomes, okay, so like, what do I do about this? And we talked a lot about this in the workshop. If you want access to the workshop, come join us in the 2% Club. That's where it's hanging out now. You'll notice that it is no longer existent in Facebook, Instagram, YouTube land any longer. Come join us in the 2% Club. Okay. We talk about procrastination a lot. Okay, but start to identify different triggers and patterns that contribute to this sabotage and procrastination. Okay, pay attention to the situations, thoughts, emotions, behaviors that come after you have a thought to do something. And you'll know if you're sabotaging or if you just did something that you didn't do consciously but subconsciously. People do that, and I use the example of scrolling on social media as a perfect example, because you go in to search for one thing. Oh, I just need the contact information, or I just need to message this one person, or I just need, and there's this thing that you go in there for, and then all of a sudden you're like, damn, that was 45 minutes later. I got sucked in. And then what's the thought you have after you get sucked in? AKA, how badly do you beat yourself up over it? Or I challenge you to, instead of allowing yourself to beat yourself up, challenge the negative beliefs and thoughts that are then coming up. Replace the self-defeating beliefs with a more empowering belief, a belief that's actually going to get where you want to go versus keep you in this cycle of kicking yourself. Because this will just lead to more self-sabotage. When you don't know where to go, this is what your goal is for. So in everything I do, I always, like, first time I even get on a call with somebody, I say, what's your goal? Like, what are you going after right now? It doesn't matter what it is. It's the exact same process to get the money, to get the clients, to get the health, to get the relationships, to get the joy, it's the exact same process. Because all of those things come via your thinking. Like, you're one thought away from it. But a lot of people, 98% of people, don't have a clear goal. That's why we call ourselves the 2% Club. Because we're like, just that one feature about us separates us from the 98% of other people. And you might say, oh no, I have a goal. This is what I desire. But are you doing the things, and are you willing to become the person that has that? Because that's the next step. And again, that's where we lose a lot of people. They'll go, oh, well, I can set a goal. Anybody can do that. Anybody can say, my goal is to have $1 million. My goal is to get this promotion at work. My goal is to have this many clients in my business. My goal is to, anybody can say that, to be this weight, to, have my marriage feel like X, Y, and Z. Anybody can do that. But then where we lose the next group of people is when I ask, are you willing to become the person that does those things, that makes $1 million, that has weighs that much, that whatever. And then they might go, yeah. And then when they get tasked to it, they procrastinate. They self-sabotage. So if we didn't lose you on number 1, we lost you at number 2. And for sure, like, within number 3, that's where 98% of people are hanging out. And I'm not judging, because this was me before I was exposed to what the top 2% do. But you have to know where you're going. The whole point of knowing where you're going isn't to actually get there, it's to become the person that gets there. Like your soul doesn't give a crap how much money you have. Your soul doesn't care how much you weigh in your meat stick. Your soul doesn't care about that. Your soul is seeking expression of itself. That's what your soul is doing. And that's where our goals come from. They come from this whole other place. And not to say that they won't be physical in nature, but your soul doesn't actually care about the physical part of it. It cares about who you're becoming, what you're learning, how you're growing in the process. So you got to have one. You got to know where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, that's like I said, that's step one where we lose people. And if you are finding that you kind of go through this cycle of set the goal, procrastinate the goal, beat yourself up, set the goal, procrastinate the goal, beat yourself up. One thing that you can do is just practice some self-compassion. Again, the things you do is a reflection of what you believe about yourself. You got to love yourself. Doesn't matter whether what you're trying to get out of this life. If you don't love yourself through the process, what's it for? What's it for? There's no point in you having a gazillion dollars and not being able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you. There's no point. Okay, so as you are creating new habits so that you stop this procrastination, self-sabotage extravaganza, love yourself through it. And when you begin to do this, because if you even just look up procrastination, everybody's like, oh, well, start time management skills. Guys, we don't manage time. Time is a concept. We manage activities. But again, if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know what your activities are. And you might have activities, but like we talked about in the workshop, they're likely just a long list of to-dos that aren't doing anything for you. They're not moving you forward. So instead of having this long list of to-dos, I'd rather see you every single day have 3 things that you're like, I'm going to crush this. This I do for me. This I do for my personal life. This I do for my professional life. All of which I'm expressing on purpose. My self-image, the self-image that I used to hold was I would literally use my to-do list as a success meter. And if I got my to-do list done, awesome day. I didn't get it done, watch out. And I'd be beating myself up. And I'd say, well, I need to manage my time better. The fact is if I'm putting something off or I'm not accomplishing something, it either needs to be deferred, deleted, or delegated. And am I asking, is it for me? But instead, I just used to put it on the to-do list for the next day and the next day and the next day. Some of my things on my to-do list for a day, I'd have 10 things on there and they all needed a month for me to do. Because I wasn't organized. I didn't have it broken down into smaller steps. Okay, whatever it is that you want to accomplish, make it small. Break it down. Rome wasn't built in a day. We've all heard these sayings. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Again, we've got all these sayings. And I knew them consciously, but I didn't practice them. Okay. And the more you become aware of who you are and where you're going and what you want out of this life and this experience, the more mindful and aware you will become of how you are spending your time. Like I have zero tolerance now. Like I went from tons of procrastination, self sabotage to a zero tolerance for it. I don't tolerate it. I don't tolerate it out of me. Mostly now because I like love myself too much to do it. I wouldn't do that to myself. And if that thought ever pops in my head, I'm so grateful for the community that I have around me. Like the 2% club just isn't a bunch of like goal achievers. Like we're literally a group that comes together and it's like we're holding each other accountable. We're supporting each other. We're cheering each other on. We're masterminding together. That's the kind of environment that all humans need in order to thrive. Are you celebrating your successes? Or are you just like next, next, next? Like I'm all about next. Like guys, 24 hours, you crush your goal, 24 hours, you get a new one. Or else you're going to get hijacked. Guaranteed. That's how quickly it happens. It's not even like within 24 hours. It could be within 24 seconds. But I give you 24 hours. Okay, you are worth whatever it is that you're wanting. You're worth it. And the moment you realize you're worth it, you'll notice the procrastinating and self-sabotage habits, because that's what they are, start to go. Again, you got to replace the belief, right? Right now, you don't believe you're worth it. That's why it keeps happening. If all you did was believe in yourself, even if you can't see the whole picture, if all you had was just belief, your life would change. Your life would absolutely change. So I want you to think about, what are you doing to self-sabotage? Maybe it's really obvious procrastination. Maybe it's you don't have the goal. Maybe it's you don't have the community. What part of that step process that I was talking about, the 3 steps, is a gap for you? I'm going to link up my call link. I want you to book a call and I want to chat with you about it. Deal? Have an awesome day, you guys.